Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of That Interview Show. Today I'll be interviewing Jodie Hawke about what it is to be transgender. Enjoy the show. God, I haven't done an interview for months now.
Hey, it's fine. I haven't ever. I interviewed someone for a subject last week, but I've not been on the receiving end.
Wow. Welcome to the receiving end.
Yeah.
I'm yet to be there myself someday. I hope that it'll be a documentary about my life.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
That won't be interesting.
We should do it in 50 years.
So what was it like during university? I went to work for most of the week, then I went to uni. That was fucking it.
Also, I did some stuff on YouTube.
Yeah. That was that's the highlight of my life, the pinnacle. When I reached YouTube stardom, I'm doing fuck all and getting 10 views a week. Yeah.
100 subscribers.
I got 34.
Oh, you're gonna get there. You're gonna get there. It's okay.
I've been on this number for like too long. All right. Welcome to That Interview Show. I've already done an intro thing already for this. I haven't filmed it yet, but that's what comes before this. So let's just start. Hi.
Hello.
So welcome to The Interview Show. I've got Jodie Hawke, is it?
Yeah.
Hawke.
Cool.
Yeah. So discussing transgender, what it means and what it is to be that.
Yeah.
Without making that sound like that's a bad thing. Got off to trying to make sure I'm not sound discriminative in this video. Not saying I am, but like it's just like I've never tackled a topic like this before. So
yeah,
like,
it's you always there's a lot of pressure that I find from people in my life who don't know anything about this to not say anything offensive, and it's like you don't really know. Like, as long as you're not trying to be an asshole, I'm not going to take it as you being an asshole. You know, I might correct you, and then if you get mad or something, it's like, okay, I'm going to just chill out. But, yeah, no, I don't care if people make mistakes, or it's all good. You don't need to stress. I mean, that's the same with everyone. Like, just, just try.
All right, so we'll get into the questions, of course. So, firstly, some stuff about you, an insight into, like, your age, educational status, and all that jazz.
Yeah. So my name's Jodie. I'm 19. I go to Swinburne University. It's just over there. It's my second year. First year didn't really count because I failed half my subjects. So, first year and a half.
God, brag about it.
Yeah, I know, right? Genius. I went to high school, I guess. I did that in Wangaratta. I got an ATAR. It was okay.
It was not a waste of time.
Yeah, it happened. It got me here, which I'm glad of, I guess. Is that enough? More about me? I got a job, I guess, or
in other words, you're a normal person? What?
I'm
if you can
functional.
classify normal as a word anymore, I haven't since
high
school.
People don't really do that anymore.
I'm like, look, everything's weird, let's leave it at that.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's normal because nothing's normal. Which is a bit,
Yeah. So how long have you identified as transgender?
So, I don't know about putting a hard date on it. Start of 2017 was when I sort of started questioning it and was like, okay, maybe let's just try things, see how this feels, because I haven't felt great beforehand. And I started trying things like different clothing, different makeup, presentation stuff, and I was just like, this is the best. I feel so good. So it was just a natural progression from there for the first maybe 3, 4, 5 months of 2017 being like, okay, well, what is this? Did a lot of research, met a lot of people, went to therapy, and then I guess like sort of hard date would be around middle of last year where I was going, yeah, no, I'm cool with this label. I put it out on Facebook of like August last year, so I guess that's like significant to the sense that I was out to people, and you can change your mind, but it's a lot. It's opening up to making that harder to change your mind if you are out to a wide group of people. Yeah, that was like a moment of showing that I was committed to it, I guess. It's like, yeah, I'm ready to do that.
So it pretty much started as like of course, you started changing your appearance and all that, and that made you just feel more comfortable at it. So
Yeah.
it's very much more psychological.
Yeah, it was. I didn't. When I grew up, I did not know that transgender people existed.
I don't think many people do.
Yeah, I grew up in a smaller area than Melbourne, and obviously it was a different time because that's how time works.
Yes.
And so my first experience of transgender people was Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, where the villain is a trans woman and everyone throws up because they've kissed her. And it's also, she's not really a trans woman because she's doing it to kill someone. So that was, and then my first actual experience of real trans people was a documentary when I was 16 of trans kids, and I was like, oh, that's cool, but I guess they must know since when they were kids. I guess that's what being trans means, and so I didn't think more about it. It wasn't something that I was had felt for years and years and years and years or anything. I never felt great. I never felt masculine or confident or good-looking or anything good about my gender growing up, but it was never something that I really saw that was an option, I guess. I just didn't know about it. So for me it did start with just okay, let's just see how you feel looking different, looking at yourself differently. And it was very visual at first, and then it broadened into, okay, how do I base behavior and personal identity around that? Yeah.
Has your transition been difficult?
Yeah. I mean, well, I'm very lucky. I'm very white, and I have more money than a lot of people, and I have a very, very good support network that would be way better than most. So has it been difficult in comparison to other trans people? Probably not. Has it been difficult in comparison to not having to deal with it? Yeah. Yeah, there's been lots of stuff that's impacted how I exist, and just time. A lot of time that goes into thinking about your identity, balancing that with real world responsibilities is, it's a lot sometimes. But, I am very lucky, and I'm able to recognize that, which is cool, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Are you planning on changing more physically?
Yeah, so, yes. I started, actually, quite recently, 2 weeks ago, I started hormone replacement therapy. So I am on one dosage of a form of estrogen, 1 pill a day. I actually start 2 pills a day today, so that's really exciting day. Haven't noticed anything yet because 2 weeks is not a time to be noticing things. It's more in the months factor. But yes, I am planning on doing that forever, unless I change my mind and whatever. Potential surgeries, maybe. They're kind of scary and cost a lot of money, so that's a hard thing to sort of commit to. I would like to do the surgery on the Adam's apple, tracheal shave, I believe it's called. I definitely know that that's something I'd be yeah, I'd like to do that. Depending on where, when, money, safety, all of those factors. Aside from that, I haven't gone too much further. I do want to change my voice, though, which is a voice therapy sort of situation, because you can't really do that medically, I guess. Yeah.
A bit of a extremely personal question.
Yeah, that's cool.
So how do you identify sexually?
I would... It's a confusing label. I would say I'm attracted to people that are not cis men, usually. So, heavy preference for girls. I sometimes say that I'm a lesbian, but I also would be cool with dating non-binary folk, or maybe some trans-masc folk, maybe the very occasional cis-het boy, but most of them I don't love at all. So
you're confused about the
terminology.
We'll get into that in a later question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Assume terminology. I don't know.
No, well, I mean, they and myself will understand. I mean, I'm still newish to the subject.
Yeah.
Newish in terms of, like, even my growing up, like, I didn't realize that was a thing, even though, like, I watched, like, stuff like The Naked Gun, where that was actually a punchline.
Yeah.
And, like,
it's
it
often
pretty
there
much
for
was just
punchlines. Yeah. And it's like, you don't even consider that that's, like, a real concept because it's just like, oh, this is a joke. This is, like, a joke person.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like, oh,
yeah.
not really. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes watching a lot of those films more interesting.
Yeah.
Just for, like, the fact of, like, that really does not work PC-wise now, but because I watched it as a kid, I still enjoy it.
It's kind of the same as how they handled, like, gay stuff 5-10 years earlier. It's just that, like, there was no characters there, and they were usually a joke if they were a character, and so you didn't really realize that it was a real thing if you didn't have it in your personal life. So, you know, lucky, I mean, I don't want to be too PC culture, but I think it's cool to have more representation, and not that it needs to be all of one or the other, but yeah, it's cool to see more diversity and stuff, and not be the punchline of jokes, I guess. Yeah.
So has being transgender interfered with the quote-unquote sex life?
I don't have a lot of experience with dating or that general area. I dated a few people in high school before I was out, obviously. They both turned out to be lesbians and dated each other later on, so that was really good for bullying me when I was 16, 17, but also really validating for me last year when I was like, oh, maybe that's why I'm okay. Yeah, cool. This year I dated someone for 4 months, and it was not an issue. She was a girl, cis-het girl. Oh, no, cis lesbian, but cis-bi girl. Wow. Fuck this up more. Terminology.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was cool. It didn't really impact in our relationship, but it helped that she already knew a lot about the community, just because she was involved and knew people. I think I would say that it's probably made the pool of people smaller, if you want to look at it that way. I don't really care too much. I'm sort of a one-person thing anyways, and it's like, there's enough people in this world that probably find someone, or I won't, or whatever. You know, you just deal with, you just do what you do. It's not something that I would base identity choices over. I wouldn't preference. Oh, but what if you're not gonna end up dating someone? Because I would rather feel comfortable in my skin every day. Yeah, so I don't know.
Do you think other people find out tricky? Not exactly other transgender people per se, but like other people, like I guess more like myself, who are just the regular, plain old straight person, straight, not exactly white, just straight people. Like, do you think it's? I mean,
difficult for them to understand, or like to be in the situation of dating a trans
I feel
person?
like in the idea of like dating, like, because they could go out and meet someone and turns out they might be trans and they might find that as a bad thing, or might be like, oh, I put in all this effort and it's a waste of time.
For sure,
like,
for sure.
Obviously it depends on the person.
Yeah, this leads into like a little bit of the how do you present being trans and what's PC culture and stuff like that. But I mean, my personal opinion is that it should be very contextual. It should be very based on the situation, what you're going to reveal to someone, and you shouldn't reveal something if you're not comfortable to do that. But at the same time, if you're going to pursue like a physical relationship with someone, I think that it's worth telling them that beforehand. I think just going out for a drink or whatever, or matching on Tinder and having a 2-day conversation, going for coffee, and then telling them after, I don't think that's wrong per se. Like, if someone gets mad about that, it's kind of like, well, they're like, oh, you wasted my time, and it's like, yeah, but I mean, there's so many other things that you're going to find out eventually. Like, the way I sort of frame it is like, oh, people ask me, should you have to tell them that you're transgender before you start dating them? And it's like, okay, but should you have to tell them about your religion or your ethnic background or your opinions on the environment or if you are fertile or STI stuff in the, like it's all very based on you as a person, them as a person, and what you're doing in that relationship.
Yeah.
I get that people are uncomfortable. I don't think that it's wrong to be uncomfortable. I think it makes sense. But I would encourage people to not, get angry or upset because of wasted time and to think about what reasons you may or may not date a trans person. Not that, like, you have to date a trans person and if you don't, you're transphobic. It's not like that at all. It's just like, okay, what are the reasons that make this important to you? And just think about that. Because, all people are different. And sex is obviously a big deal. People often be like, it's all about the genitals, and if you've got the wrong genitals, so fuck that. But there are people that get surgeries there, and that's pretty, it's close to the same after that. So, I don't know, it's worth thinking about, at the very least. IMO.
How did your family react to your coming out?
I'm very lucky. My family were immediately extremely supportive. The closest I had to my family not being supportive was them being like, yeah, look, if you do this, I will love you and support you, but here's all the reasons that this might be dangerous or, like, not good for your life. And I was like, that's not what I want to hear right now. Please don't tell me this. But, yeah, for the most part, they were like, okay, this is a struggle. It's weird. It's hard. And we still love you, and let's go on the journey together. And that was awesome. But I do think it was heavily influenced by the fact that I started the journey with them when I started the journey. I did not come to them going, okay, here's my new name, it's Jodie. You need to use she, her pronouns. Pronouns means, call me this, by the way. So you need to completely change everything about that. And also I'm going to present however I want from whenever I want. I did not do that.
Here's a 30-page manifesto, you have to read it by tomorrow night, and then I'll...
And if you make any mistakes, you're done as parents. That's not what happens.
Get out of the house.
And if you're doing that, it's not going to work. No human being is ready to accept that change in that way.
Yeah.
So I framed it as like, I think I'm feeling this way, and I think I'm going to start just trying a few things, and I don't really understand it at all. I'm going to make mistakes, so the fact that you're going to make mistakes is completely fine, because you're not me, and you're not thinking about this all the time like I am. And we just went from there. It was really cool to watch people be really cool with it. There's been hiccups along the way. Some of my family are pretty hesitant about me starting hormone replacement therapy, which I did 2 weeks ago, as aforementioned. And that's not so much of a, I don't want you to do this thing, as it's a fear of, what if I regret something that is seemingly permanent? It's not really permanent, but there's a few things that kind of get permanent-ish. So, but it's good.
Did you have to, like, because right now you're wearing a dress and obviously more feminine clothing.
Yeah.
Was it a challenge to do that at all? Because, like, did you have, like, sisters or cousins that were female, or did that help at all?
It was a challenge. So I have a sister. She is 4 years younger than me, so can't really go to her. She also doesn't live anywhere near me, so there's that. I was very lucky to have female friends that gave me stuff, starting off, which was really cool. I bought stuff online at first because I was scared to do that in the shops. So yeah, finding stuff at first is hard. And presenting first is also really hard. I didn't actually present in front of my friends for, like, a good long time, like maybe 4 ish months of them knowing that I think I might be a girl. I just didn't present in front of them. Maybe like occasionally I would have worn makeup or stuff, but not like full on wearing a dress. It was kind of weird for family at first. I guess, I don't know. I think it's weird when it's still weird to you. Once you're used to it, the only part that's weird is like you just need to be prepared for them to be shocked, I guess. And it's like, okay, they're going to see this and they're going to be a bit taken aback. And if they're cool people, they're not going to yell at you. And they might make a weird comment about it, whatever. Like, the whole process is very uncomfortable. Yeah. That's what being trans is. It's uncomfortable and compromising, in my opinion. But, you know, still very lucky and it's been pretty good so far. So.
How about in regards to university? Has it affected your studies at all?
Yes. So university, it actually impacts university more than you might think. I'm writing an article for one of my subjects about what it's like to be a transgender university student, because there's a lot of things that I just didn't know would be a problem until they were a problem. Presentation-wise, I started presenting more femininely this year, start of this year. I went into this year going, I am going to add a preferred name, and I'm going to wear whatever the fuck I want. Whereas last year I just was like, feminine jeans and feminine jumpers or whatever. And that's been really cool. People at university, in my classes at least, don't give a fuck, which is really awesome, that nobody gives a shit. The issues come more from admin stuff, because changing your name in this system is actually ridiculously difficult. You can add a preferred name, which I've done, and that shows up on Blackboard, which is our online interactive student space, I guess. It does not affect, however, your email, which is just your legal name, and it does not affect the class listing. So something that I've found really fun to do this semester and last semester is to try and get in touch with my tutors before class starts to tell them, hi, I have this other name and I'm a girl, can you please just treat me as a girl with this other name? And once that happens, they're cool with it. But it's hard to find your tutors before the first week of uni. Yeah. So, and it's also scary to have to go up and tell them, and there's a lot of people that are trans that wouldn't be able to do that. So it'd be cool if we had a system where we could change our names on the emails and the class listing, and it would be also cool if we didn't, if in reverse, if that didn't happen, if we just didn't have to track down our tutors in the first 5 minutes of the first class of each semester and be like, here's a really weird conversation for you. Luckily, my tutors and lecturers have been overwhelmingly awesome about it. I think there's been people that have made mistakes, and that's cool, that's all good. None of it has been intentional, or they've never been like, I'm gonna just disregard what you said, or fuck you, in other words. I know that there are tutors and lecturers at this university that have done that, though. So, aside from that, university's been pretty good. We have a queer space, a queer collective, and that involves a group of people and a room where we can all hang out. And that has been a blessing for me, honestly. I would not have passed as many subjects as I did this year if I hadn't had that space, and the people there, and the support network that has been. So I feel quite lucky to have had a pretty good university experience so far. There are hiccups, there are things that I would love to change, but
that's good. I was wondering myself about like, is it like a challenge or not to like change your name in the system and whatever? But no,
it's really easy to add a preferred name. All you have to do is go to Student HQ and say, give me this preferred name.
Yeah,
it just doesn't impact all of the things that you need it to impact to function, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I think the most first-person stuff I know about that is when like teachers in like your first week are calling down the roll and you said like, oh, I'd prefer to be called like Ben instead of Benjamin or some stuff like that.
And I mean it like that is a very common thing that a lot of people have, but also there's a lot of international students as well that have legal names that they don't want to use in this country because it can be like hard to pronounce or confusing or whatever reason.
Yeah.
And so they don't really have a system for it either. It's not just trans people. This like the name thing, it affects a lot of people. And I don't know why we have a system that doesn't accommodate for that, and in me trying to make them accommodate for it seems like it's very rigid and hard to do. So we'll see what happens with that, I guess.
How about in terms of like governmental things like IDs and stuff and passports and whatever?
Yeah, that sucks as well. I get it. I get why that like it's a legal thing. So you know, you have to refer to someone by their legal name. That's fine. I get it. I'm not bothered. Like I don't like using my ID because it sucks. But I'm going to if they card me. You know, I'm not that upset. It's more stuff where it's like I'll go to a doctor's office and I will have a referral that has my legal name and my preferred name there, and they will still call me my legal name, and I'm like, just so you know, there's a reason that there's a preferred name, and they'll be like, yeah, but I have to call you your legal name because like it's the law, and I was like, just no, you don't. It's like maybe once you do just to identify that that's me, but in casual conversation of this 5, 10, 15-minute appointment, you can just call me whatever I would like. It's not hard to do that, and most people are cool about it, but like, you know, it just isn't fun sometimes that's a conversation that has to happen. But I am looking at changing my name legally, like soon-ish anyways. So
was it hard to choose your name?
Yes, it was hard to choose my name. I don't want to give my old name because I hate it, it's gross and I don't like saying it, but it, rest assured, was not a name that had an easy female alternative.
Yeah.
Julian, Julia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. I feel like yours is definitely more
not
an adaptation.
Yep, it was. Yeah. I did not have a very smooth thing, and I always wanted it to be something that was a J, preferably J-O. So that's a hint. That's what my old name used to start with, J-O. And so I wasn't sure. I kind of liked Josie for a bit. I always liked Jodie, but I wasn't sure because I knew a lot of Jodies in my life that were just old women. And I was like, yucky. Old people, gross. That's not PC. But I think the ultimate thing that made me choose, which is super nerdy, was Jodie Whittaker being cast as the 13th Doctor in Doctor Who. Because that's like trans girl doctor. It's like what I did, and I love her as an actor, and I love Doctor Who, and I'd wanted the name for a long time anyways, and so that happened, and I was like, you know what, this is the universe giving me Jodie.
Yeah.
And then I adopted it. So
yeah. So now we'll get more into like LGBT culture, and
Sweet.
I'm not going to go through the whole acronym because it changes so much. It's just kind of annoying.
You can always just put in a plus. You can just do LGBTQ plus.
Yeah. And of course discrimination. I've forgotten what my first question was. God damn it.
That's cool.
So have you participated much in the LGBT plus culture?
Yeah, I would say that this year specifically, I have. Last year was a lot of just going to groups and sort of just seeing what other people like. I didn't commit to it a lot. This year I spend a lot of time. You right?
My brain can't figure out if it's going to sneeze or not. No, I'm alright. Continue.
Sweet. Cool. Yeah, last year I just went to a few groups just to sort of suss it out and meet people and hear from similar experiences. This year I have spent a lot of time in the queer space at uni and met a lot of really cool people through that. And so I guess that would be my closest thing to participating. I haven't been to a pride yet. I don't go to rallies or anything like that. I might one day. I'm not a very social, outward person often, so it's not usually my scene. But yeah, I guess. I have an online presence as well, I guess. That sounds really wanky. I just run a Tumblr where I talk to people and post stuff about my transition, so I do interact with the community.
I've seen that more than I've seen in more in-person groups, but I know that there are definitely in-person groups as they have the whole queer players here at and all that stuff, And
there are like trans-specific groups in the city that I've been to, and they're like, they're alright. I just don't want to go to them all the time. So, yeah.
Yeah. I question if there's like a psychological backlash from there where like even though like you go into this group that is full of people that are all trans or bi or gay or in that whole section, but then like you're like, does it isolate you as well from like what you probably perceive as the rest of the world?
Yeah, so you're talking about like the concept of an echo chamber, which is an interesting one. I've only really started thinking about this a bit recently. I think you should use a space like that, a group like that, as an escape, not as a let's base my foundation here. You know what I mean? Sure, if you make really good friends there, you can keep being really good friends, and that's cool. But I wouldn't go to a group and be like, okay, this is my everything. This is where my real life is, and everything outside is garbage. Like, no, you need to live in that.
Yeah.
So that's what being a human being is. That's what this adult life is.
Yeah. Because I mean, there would be a hypocrisy of the idea of like, oh, you are now discriminating against, I guess, just cis people. For just being that when they potentially discriminated against you for being trans.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we go into a trans group and bitch about cis people or say death to cis or anything. It's not like that. But I do understand the concern of like wanting people to, see things from different perspectives, and I think it's a really good idea to be open-minded. I don't think that necessarily means that you should engage in debate all the time. There's a lot of people that are not built for debate, and so they will try and be reasonable to someone who is not going to be reasonable, and then they will get upset and say, "Oh, I'm done with tone policing. I'm just gonna be angry now, and I'm sick of trying to, mediate myself for someone that's not gonna listen." Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's fair. I understand why you're angry, because people are treating you like shit in society, and I get that, and you have the right to be angry. But if you're going to engage in a discussion that you're framing as this is meant to be educational or helpful, and you actually want people to be on your side, don't be angry.
Yeah.
And if you can't not be angry, don't be the person having that discussion.
Yeah. It needs to be more objective, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want people to not feel feelings. Like, people are like, oh, you've got a very emotional response. So it's like, yeah, well, it's emotional life that I'm living,
Yeah.
I'm attached to this. It's hard to not be emotional about things.
Yeah.
But you can still not lose your shit, and you can still write or speak in ways that are not, inflammatory or get people offside just by the way you talk. If you're trying to convince someone that you're good, you don't want to be like, well, I'm better than you. That's just never going to work. You want to try and relate to them and frame yourself as someone that is just another human being living your life, trying not to hurt anyone.
Yeah.
And, like, seriously, if someone's going to be mad at you for that, they're the asshole. So,
yeah.
But, yeah, I think that's...
How about, just in terms of discrimination, have you gotten much in terms of discrimination? Received discrimination?
No, not directly. I have not, I'm very lucky I haven't been physically hurt or anything.
I think someone's playing hide and seek.
Yo, someone's counting. Let's count with them. 18. No, what? Oh my God. They stopped as I started. I'll just continue. Yeah, I haven't experienced any physical or verbal, direct in-person stuff like that. I've had people online tell me that I am not a woman and that I am garbage and stuff like that. But usually those insults are so far-fetched that they're not even upsetting. Like, I posted a photo set on a website called Tumblr. It was very, very standard, just photos of me wearing clothes, normal clothes, wearing makeup, just documenting, right? This is what I'm wearing now, this is what I look like now. That's the point of my blog, is to show my transition.
By normal, do you mean the feminine clothing?
Yeah, like feminine, but it was not over the top in any way. It was not revealing in any way, whatever, right? Someone's response to that photo is that I allegedly masturbate to 5-year-olds because of my existence, my identity. And I was like, how am I meant to take this as an insult? Like, it's so far-fetched, it's so out of the realm of anything that I'm like, I have real issues, I've got real insecurities that you could probably find quite easily, and you could attack me over, and I might get upset, but like, stuff, I don't know, people on the internet, they're do or die, you know, they want to go hard, and it's like, you should kill yourself, and it's like, okay, I guess your opinion means something to me.
I'll put that in the advice book.
Yeah, thank you.
To never read again.
Agenda. Cool. Other discrimination stuff, I've had very awkward, kind of vague, gross things happen. I had an old man rub me on the shoulders and go, "Hey, good job, man, I mean girl," when I was wearing a dress. It was like, "Good job on being you," but he was just touching me. It's too much for a stranger to touch someone, and I quickly left that situation.
Yeah.
We had an incident in the queer space where someone came up and was like, "Oh, this is the queer space, right?" And I was like, "Yep." And they're like, "So, are you gay?" And I was like, "I'm bi," because I didn't want to get into it with a stranger.
Yeah.
That felt like a safe answer. And I was like, "What about you?" And he was like, "Oh, no, that's wrong." And I was like, "Oh, okay, well, maybe this isn't the best space for you to be then." And he just did not get the hint. So we had to call security, because he just kept sitting there with me. It was only me. And it was like 6 o'clock at night. It's just me and this guy. And he just kept on being like, "Yes, this is wrong. I don't see why you're like this." And I was like, "Please leave."
Yeah.
You're welcome to have your opinion, but like, don't do this to me.
Yeah.
Aside from that, nah. Very lucky. No abuse. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's good, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, that's what you want for your life.
I feel like I'm not fishing for like, give me like the worst stuff that's ever happened.
The juicy details.
Yeah. I need the views. No, it's just what you've experienced.
Local trans girl regularly experiences abuse.
I don't even know where that sound is coming from.
Yeah.
It's like something on the playground.
Hey, playground, what's up?
It's a very sunny day.
It's a sunny day.
It's a wonderful day.
It's a pretty day.
There are kids outside because kids exist.
Shout out to kids.
God. All right. What are the common misconceptions about being trans that maybe you've received or just know about?
Yeah, I guess there's a few. A lot of people think that I am attracted to men now, or that I've always been attracted to men, and that's why I'm trans. Not the case. Don't like most men in a sexual or romantic way at all. The transition did not affect my sexuality. It did not change before or after in any way. And a lot of people think that is a thing. And they confuse it a lot. I had someone ask me, it's like, "Are you sure you're not just gay?" And I was like, "I'm a lesbian." It's like, "Oh, what? I thought that you only did that because you were into dudes." And I was like, "No, no, not the case." Something else, other misconceptions.
I hear a lot of especially older people who are more traditionally valued, saying like, oh, why can't they just get the snip, as they call it, and just like change so quickly? It's like, and I'm like, it's not exactly
so that is definitely a thing. So yeah, there is a common misconception that a transition can happen overnight, or over a week, or over a month, or over a year. No, no, it cannot. That's not a thing. Surgeries actually cost thousands and thousands of dollars out of pocket, unless you have good health insurance or whatever, which most, I would say, 20-year-olds don't. And also, there's just a lot of things that impact that not happening straight away. Like, kind of TMI, but it's heavily recommended that you get laser hair removal on your crotch area before you do that surgery, for like medical reasons. And laser hair removal takes 8 to 12 months for it to start having a lasting impact, and you have to keep going after that still. And so it's like, there's that. There are certain states in this country, I don't actually know about Victoria, but where you have to have been living your life as a woman for 2 years before you can get surgery, and have 2 or 3 referrals from psychiatrists and doctors and stuff. So there's that. It's also a pretty heavy personal choice that people don't really owe you an explanation to whether they do it or do not do it.
Yeah, because obviously a comfort level of like, oh, I just like dressing in women's clothes. It's like, oh, does that mean you're transgender? It's like, why don't you just change your complete sex altogether? It's like, maybe it's just what I'm comfortable in.
Yeah, I mean, I would identify as a woman. I do. I would say I'm a transgender woman. I want to change my body physically. I've started hormone replacement therapy, which will do that. I would like to change my voice. I would like to live my life as a woman. The only time that my genitals impact my life is when I am naked, which is not often, or when I am having sex, which is part of being naked. And I don't think that that is... I think both of those times are intimate enough times that I should be able to accept or be with someone who's with me in that situation who can accept that my body is non-traditional, you know what I mean? Like, and if they don't, that's fine. I'm not going to have sex with them, obviously. Like, I'm not asking everyone to accept that. But I think sex is so intimate for me that I don't want to have sex unless I'm in touch with my body and your body, and we both know that, you know?
Yeah.
And like, it just doesn't impact me that much right now. It's still something that I am thinking about. Like, it's not a hard, no, I would never do this. It's just right now, it's like nowhere near on my list of things to happen.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people that are like that. Like, it takes a lot of time to get used to all the changes for yourself, let alone to implement it into everyone else's life. So, like, I'm just getting used to hormones. It'd be to ask me to go do surgeries right now, I'd be like, are you fucking kidding? I've just started hormones. Like, my body is already losing its shit, sort of.
I feel like it's because a lot of people, especially when they read like stuff in the media, like, it's just like, oh, this person who you once knew as a man is now a woman, just like that. Well, it's like, because they've gone through this process and haven't made it public.
It's exactly, and that's the thing. Like, lots of trans celebrities, and I mean, this is their choice. I'm not saying it's a wrong choice, because I probably wouldn't want to document my early transition as a celebrity, but a lot of them go off the grid for a few years to become a different person and not have that uncomfortable teasing working, situation with the general public who are not super accepting of that, the discomfort that comes with the actual transition part of being trans. There's a lot of people that are like, oh yeah, well, you can be a man or a woman, and like, once you're done, sick. But the whole actual doing it part is a whole thing.
Do you think there's... It's a tricky question to ask, of course, because do you think it's definitely a thing where people are saying how, like, oh, transgender is like a mental illness, or like it's just the LGBT movement, if they think that it's going to end, being like going too far? Like,
the culture right now, the climate of just the world in terms of what's acceptable and what isn't is in a very, very interesting place right now. You look at like the whole political nature like of the world, and you're like, there's a lot of shit going on right now. There is a very strong shift in what people are viewing as right and wrong. And it makes a lot of sense for there to be a large group of people to be like, this is going too far, because it is a strong change, right? And a lot of those people are people that don't have any experience with any of this stuff, like being trans or being a person of color or being any form of gay, bi, lesbian, agender, like anything, right? A lot of the people that have an issue are people that have lived their lives never having to consider these things at all. And they're like, why can't we just make things normal? And it's like, I get it. I do get it. Look, personally, I don't think being transgender is a mental illness. I think it is a mental thing. I think it's a thing in my brain. Don't think it's wrong. I don't think that I can go to therapy or get shock therapy or have it cured out of my brain. I don't think that's real. I think the prescription for this, I'm not going to say illness, for this mental thing is to transition. If that's what you feel like would make you happier, then that's what you should do, right? Yeah, I don't know. I get why people are upset with PC culture. There are things that people are doing and saying that I disagree with, that are, in my community. There's a lot of people that don't know how to have a discussion without getting angry, and I don't think that's good. But I don't think that this is the end of the world. Like, I just don't want people to be looking at me or just other trans people and being like, wow, we're really going to the dogs, because like, I'm not trying to do anything to you. I don't want to change you. I don't want you to do anything, The only way I want you to accommodate for me is just to give me the basic dignity of treating me as a person with a name that I like and pronouns that I like, and that's really it, I get that that's trickier for non-binary people who might use they, them pronouns. I understand how that's a really hard thing to wrap your head around. I'm still not good at it. I think we should encourage it, because there are people that feel like they don't fit into one or the other, and that's valid. I believe that's valid. So, yeah, I mean, obviously there's different aspects that are harder than others. I think my experience is not as hard as others. But, yeah, I don't know. Does that answer? I feel like, yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, it definitely goes into the question of, like, why do you think people discriminate against trans and LGBT? And, like, I think it's definitely based on, of course, their own opinions and, like, what they've grown up with and whatever. Like, I even, when this became more of a thing to me, I think it started for me as, like, I've started knowing about, like, gay and lesbian people. Most of that was through media that I consumed. Like, again, whether it be a punchline or whether it be an actual character thing.
Yeah.
And then that evolved into my friends being like, oh, yeah, this is definitely a thing. And I'm definitely happy that I was aware of it throughout high school, because I was not aware of this as a kid, and I probably did not give a shit because I was a kid.
Yeah, me neither.
What I care about.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there were obviously the whole concept of the religious beliefs getting in the way of being able to accept that kind of thing. And that's where I think, that's where I think I'm like, if it's religious beliefs that stop you from being able to accept, like, trans or LGBT people, then it's just like, that's your own argument, and even I would have an argument against religion or for religion and whatever. Whereas, like, again, that's my own personal thing. But I feel like with people who just need to, quote unquote, get with the times, they can do it with whatever I guess makes them comfortable. I don't know, it's fucking tricky.
Yeah, like, it is super tricky.
You can understand, like, I feel like there are a lot of people who, quote unquote, are normal, who are like, why can't, like, LGBT people, like, understand that, like, it's hard for me to think, and then you get the LGBT people saying, like, why can't normal people understand that it's, it's hard for me? It's like, it's all a personal battle.
Yeah, it's like, I'm the avatar. I'm the bridge between the two worlds. I understand how they are both difficult.
That's one hell of a reference.
Hey, any Atlas fans out here? Oh boy. Anyways, yeah, I actually do get that. Because I used to be a person who was a 17-year-old dude who was like, this is ridiculous. Like, some of the stuff that, like, you want to be a man or a woman, cool, whatever, but what is this crazy kin talk or in-between stuff? Why we have to put our pronouns on things now? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then I realized, I lived this, and I was like, oh, most people actually aren't asking for too much. Most people in reality, maybe they'll be a bit bitter, but, like, the stuff that you will see as a person that's not engaged with the community at all is the extremes. And that's actually one of the reasons that the climate right now is fucked. It's just it's really difficult because we love extremes. The media wants to show extremes. Like 100% of the time, you never will see a story about a trans woman or a trans man or a trans non-binary person that is just happy living their life. It's always like, this trans person does very controversial thing or has a very weird situation.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I get that's what the news is. I understand how that's what media is at the moment. I know that this is your this is all you can see right now.
Yeah.
But you can't base your definition of a group of people or your understanding of a group of people off of such limited, such biased, extreme content.
Yeah, like...
There's so much more that you just... It's there, but you can't see it.
Like, you've obviously got, like, the stereotypes in film and TV, which are just like, oh, they're trans or gay or whatever just for the point of being trans or gay. Not exactly, like, punchline-wise, but, like, just so they have that, like, inclusion, but it's not, like, an appropriate inclusion.
Yeah.
Like how, like, the horror cliche of, like, oh, you have the black person to be killed off first. It's like, that's our inclusion, but also that's, like, the cliche.
Yeah, or you have, like, TV shows that will only put one black character in or one Mexican or Latino character in, and it's like, okay, well, you shouldn't force things in. You shouldn't force anything in. That's not how good writing works. You don't force things into a show for the sake of it being there, right? Unless that's kind of the point and you're making fun of that. But at the same time, there's no reason that we can't have a more diverse cast, and there's it's where it comes down to it. It's like, okay, should there be more diversity in TV shows?
I feel like contextually there should be. Like, if you're going to put in a gay person, they should contextually have a reason for why they're gay and why
for sure.
He's related to the story.
The issue is not should they be in the show, right? It's should they be allowed to be in the show? Should more than one be allowed to be in the show and stuff like that? And it's like, yes. There's no reason that we should put a limit on it. For that being said, that doesn't mean make everyone gay. That doesn't mean make everyone trans or a person of color. That's... No. unless that's, unless that's part of your vision, unless that's going to work in a way that will work.
I want to make a TV show about, like, the whole cast is gay space robots. Like, that's just the whole concept. Obviously that's not exactly something but, like, an example.
But, I mean, there are examples of shows... There's examples of shows that are all minorities, and it works, because that's the point. Like, Orange is the New Black is a cast of entire women, essentially. There are maybe, like, 5 to 10 men in a show that has 50 women throughout 6 seasons, right?
Yeah.
And they're diverse. They've got trans women. They've got people of color. They've got a lot of gay, a lot of lesbian women. And it works as a show because it's not doing it for the sake of it. It's like, these are real people, and this is what the real experience would be like.
Yeah.
And
they're written to work with the show.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I like the show just for that reason as well.
Yeah.
For the audience who are more new to the whole LGBT stuff, we'll go into...
Everyone. Pretty much.
We'll go into definitions.
Yeah, cool.
So if there are some of these that you do not want to elaborate on, then feel free to address that. We'll go into ones that you define. So can you define some terms associated with transgender and LGBT community that obviously are not inappropriate? So I've got terms here. So we'll start with trans male.
Okay, so a trans male is someone who identifies as a man and was not assigned a man at birth, so would have been assigned a female at birth, usually. So the common term for that is FTM, female to male. They were born a girl, they've transitioned to a man, trans man.
Mm.
A lot of people get confused about that as well, actually. If we're still briefly talking about misconceptions, a lot of people are like, are you a trans man or a trans woman? And I'm like, I'm the woman one, because I'm a woman.
Yeah.
I would not ever say what I used to be in
Yeah.
my identity. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But it is I get how people,
Yeah. So of course, then trans female would be the opposite of
the
that,
complete opposite. Male to female, trans.
So non-binary.
Non-binary, from my understanding, and I mean, I don't make the rules. I don't have hard definitions.
You can simply Google this stuff if you need
Yeah,
to.
you can Google stuff if you need to. I treat non-binary as any person that does not feel like they are either a man or a woman, or a trans man or trans woman, or they do not feel like they fit into one or the other. They might fluctuate. They might feel like nothing at all. They might want to have no attachment to gender at all. They might want to not do anything. On the flip side, they might want to present as either or often, or change it up. Right? I mean, I get how it's confusing and hard, but I don't think that that's wrong.
Yeah.
Per se.
I can understand why people, again, with the people who, with the misconceptions thing of how people are like, how can you just choose your gender if you're obviously born as one?
Yeah.
There are obviously people who say that, oh, well, you're born as either a male or a female for the options of your genitals, and because it's scientific and biological.
Yeah, so in terms of definitions, that's the distinction between sex and gender. So sex is your biological bits, right? Like what you were born as in a male or female sense. So gender is more of a inside thing, how you feel in your body and your society and how you want to present based around the concepts of man and woman and femininity and masculinity and how you want to fit into that, I guess. It's an identity thing, not a physical thing. That's what gender is. Yeah.
So then you've got cisgender.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people don't like this word at all. Cisgender means not trans. It means you identify as the gender that you're assigned as a sex at birth. So if you're a cisgender man, you were born a man, and you still feel like you're a man.
So, I mean, realistically, you could probably say, oh, I'm a man. You don't have to say, I'm a cis man. You can just say, I'm a man. Because unless you are the kind of person who'd like to elaborate further because you feel like it's necessary.
Most people don't. There's no reason to say it. The distinction that it needs to exist is because the alternative is to say normal, right? And it's cool, I guess.
But then that brings a whole, discriminatory factor to, everything else.
It's a little bit push everything to the side. And so when I'm calling you a cishet man, that's not an insult. That means you're a cisgender, heterosexual man. That's it. I'm a transgender, lesbian woman. So we're the same. It's just two different categories. There's no offense intended. I do see how people are like, oh, the cisheads are gross or whatever. People do say that. And that's because the part that's wrong with that is not the cisheads, it's the calling them gross. The insult part is not the definition.
That's why I feel like the only versions of saying a cis person that I've seen are literally people discriminated against cis people. I'm like, I feel like that's the only reason the term cis came about, just so you could discriminate against it. But I'm like, again, it really isn't.
It really, that's what you see, because that's the extremes, right? The word exists because all terms should exist, right? The word exists because heterosexual exists as a concept, right? That's as simple as it.
Okay, so the next one is AMAB/AFAB.
Yeah, so AMAB would be assigned male at birth, which refers to your sex. It's a really good way of explaining what you were born as without being like biologically or before or just awkward language. And so assigned male at birth, assigned female at birth, referring to your sex at birth. And I mean, that applies for cis people too. It's still true. You were assigned male at birth, you're still identifying as male. I was assigned male at birth, I identify as female.
Yeah.
It's just part of language. It's not anywhere near as important to understand. I'm not going to criticize people for not knowing that one, you know. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. HRT.
HRT stands for hormone replacement therapy. For trans women, it is usually estrogen, a form of estrogen, and testosterone blockers. As aforementioned, I've started HRT 2 weeks ago. I'm on a small dosage of estrogen. It will change my body. It will make my breasts and butt grow and have other fat redistribution, make my face more soft and fuller. It will make my skin softer. It will make my skin less greasy and yucko, clear up my acne and stuff like that. It will thin out my hair, my body hair, and make it grow less tough and coarse and less quickly, potentially. It will affect my sex drive usually in a way that it will decrease, and I'll eventually go infertile. There's no defined date on that. That's mainly it. There's mood changes as well. I'm meant to be able to feel emotions more, which I'm starting to have a little bit. When I say feel emotions more, I don't mean like men can't feel emotions. I just mean easier to express emotions physically through tears, usually. I don't know a lot about trans men and their HRT process. I know that it is testosterone that they take, which is obviously, it makes sense, the opposite hormone.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of them take it through needles, whereas mine is a pill of estrogen. Their voice will change, whereas my voice will not change because my voice is already broken and theirs will break. They can grow facial hair. Their skin acne can like come up quite a bit. They will get more muscle mass in their body. I will get less muscle mass. It's a lot of the
traditional
opposites.
features of what a male and female
it's
physically
it's
are.
quite similar to puberty, really. It's quite similar to documented, not documented, but like structured puberty. Like they check up on it. That's what I'm trying to say. They medicate your puberty so that you don't lose your shit like most people in puberty do when their hormones are just like all over the place.
Is the infertility thing common?
Yes, that's a.
So it's like a guaranteed thing, like
Pretty much.
like you might want to be transitioning, yes, but it means like you can't have kids.
Yeah,
Is
it is a. They say that it is a thing that will happen if you continue doing HRT. They can't put a specific time on it, but I would say that like more than 3 months on HRT, you're like this is not safe. So I've actually freezed my sperm. Because I don't know if I want kids, but I might one day, so that option is there for me.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you can do the same with eggs, right? So
Yeah, you can, so it definitely seems like a personal thing of if like you want to have kids or not. But again, like you're only 19. Like, God knows if you want to have kids or not.
No, and this is actually the main reason that my parents were a bit like, you shouldn't be doing this. And it's like, yeah, it's fair. I get how that's a very permanent thing. I did freeze my sperm. I've been told that it should be enough for a good few kids. It's also lots of other options. Adoption, insemination, or people, whatever. There's so many options for kids. There's so many people in this world right now that I don't even know if it's ethically right to have kids because there's so many. But whatever, I'll deal with that in 10 years, 15 years in one way or the other.
Well, at least there's the argument. It's like at least you can't can't get pregnant.
Yeah.
If you find that as a perk or not.
Some people could treat that as a perk. Yeah.
Yeah. The next term would be gender dysphoria.
Yeah, so gender dysphoria refers to a strong disconnect from your body in relation to your identity. So, an example of things that give me gender dysphoria might be like facial hair, or body hair, or my voice, because those are things that are physical about me that I do not feel like should be on my body because of my identity, versus what my body does biologically. Is there more of an explanation to that? I don't know. Yeah, it's just a strong disgust and discomfort with your body, really. And it's for trans people because they feel like their body does not fit with who they are.
Mm.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's pronouns.
Mm-hmm.
Which...
Pronouns is a really weird term to... I don't know if there's a definition for pronouns. Like, I just use an example. My pronouns are she, her, which means when you're talking about me, you'll say, hey, I met Jodie the other day, and she was really cool, and I liked her dress. And for Julian, you would say, he was really cool, and I liked his glasses. And that's as basic as it gets, really. It's just how you refer to someone in a gendered way. Some people use they, them pronouns. People sometimes think that you can't use they, them pronouns because that's a plural thing. Mm. It's not a plural thing. When you're talking about a coworker that you've never met, like...
Yeah, you mentioned oh, they were doing this the other day.
You're going to get a new boss, you don't know who they are yet, you would say they. Yeah, I just said they. You wouldn't be like, you don't know who he is, because you don't know that. Mm. So I get where people think, oh, it should be a plural thing, and it is kind of weird language to use, but I'll just give an example. I have a friend named Kai. They use they, them pronouns. They are really cool, and I like them a lot, and they write really good stories, you know?
Yeah,
that's
just think of like the normal grammatical function of where you put he and she and just swap that with
it's not hard to do when you think about it. It is hard to do when you're not thinking about it. Yeah. And there's lots of people that make mistakes, and I get that. It's cool.
Yeah. And then, of course, the last term for the appropriate, I guess, if you even call this one appropriate, but the cross-dresser.
Yeah, so I would say cross-dresser, I think, is just like a person that...
I'd say just dresses in the opposite gender's clothing.
They dress in a way that is stereotypically the opposite gender's clothing, and they do not feel that in their identity. They can do the dressing, and maybe they will adopt an identity for the period of time while they're doing that, but that's not who they feel they are inside. A good example of this, in a popular mainstream way, is drag. Lots of people do drag, and they use different names and pronouns when they're in their drag persona. Cool, I guess. I don't love it. I don't like how I'm uncomfortable with it because of the associations with transgender people, and I don't like how the most widespread example of gender diversity is drag people sometimes, because it's like, that's not what this actually is. I'm not doing drag. So this is my identity.
So cross-dressing is more of like the facade. It's like, oh, I'm wearing women's clothing either because I feel more comfortable or because I'm expressing something that isn't exactly sexually identifying or gender identifying. It's just how they want to look. Or that's how they want to present for a period of time. It's not who they feel they are inside. Yeah. Now, of course, the inappropriate terms, which, again, if you don't want to talk about any of these, feel free to just say skip. Yeah. And you can look that up in your own time. Yeah. So we've got a transsexual. Transsexual is actually not too bad, I guess, because it is the term that transgender people used to use, like, commonly in very early 30, 40, 50 years ago sort of times. It's outdated now. People don't use it now. And the main reason is that this gender identity is not a sexual identity. It's not a sexual thing. And so you see people that use transsexual now, in these days, the people that do use that, they treat their own identity
sort of as a fetish. If they want to do that, that's fine, but I don't think that's the same as being transgender.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you can be both, but it's definitely not the same thing. This is not a sexual identity. This is a personal, internal identity of who I am. So that's why that term is outdated and not used interchangeably for transgender anymore, or at least it shouldn't be, in my opinion. Yeah.
Then we've got transvestite, which I
Yeah.
feel like is a lot more known because of films like Rocky Horror and stuff like that.
Rocky Horror. What a great film. I love it. Transvestite, I think, is just cross-dresser. Really. It's just... I would put it to that. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Like, it's touching in on... The trans part of it makes it sort of seem like there might be identity stuff in there as well. But I think it's really just cross-dresser, yeah.
Then there's a term which, when you had posted up on Facebook about this stuff, you
Yeah.
said to specifically
To Google it.
to Google it or ask you personally, and that is the term trap.
Yeah. So a trap is basically just a very rude description of a trans woman. The concept of a trap is that when you are a cis heterosexual man and you're going to go on a date with a woman and you're going to do some physical stuff and then you find out that they are trans, that they have trapped you. That's the concept of it. So people that call trans women traps usually are assuming that the only purpose of a trans woman, or a woman at all, is for vaginal sex, really. And so that a trans woman has no value aside from, well, no value at all because they can't have vaginal sex. Yeah, it's a gross word just used to belittle trans women, really.
And then I think we're on to our last segment. The future.
Yay, the future.
The future is as bright as this fucking sunlight.
Yeah, I hope so. I sure hope so.
I'm hoping the footage looks alright.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, so firstly, what changes do you want to see in regards to how people see transgender people?
It would just be really cool to just have people know about it more. I think that's it's already starting to happen through media and news and just more people being trans, or not more people being trans, but more people feeling safe to be out as trans in this current society.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for people it's like it's the same as what you want for anyone. You want people to be open-minded to new things that are not inherently bad things. You know?
Yeah.
They're not inherently harmful things that advocate for bad stuff, really. And so, yeah, that's all I really want from people is I'd like to see more knowledge, and I'd like to see just people being cool with it, just being open to it and willing to have a compromise, because that's what I think the whole process is like at the moment, is heavy compromise on both parties.
I feel like it's less, because a lot of people feel like people are, again, with the whole men's world, it's feeling like, oh, the world's going insane now that people are the wrong gender and stuff. It's like, I feel like there's some people who feel like the world is more like in references the story of The Last Man on Earth, where it's like the whole world is turning into something completely different and you're like the last of what remains as normal until you realize the rest of the world has its own actual thing and identity going on.
Yeah.
Like, some people just close themselves off like that. Like,
there's a lot of people that think like, oh, well, actually I don't know how they think, but I'm assuming they think if all of these people start becoming trans, I'll end up being the minority and I won't have equal rights. I won't be treated as normal anymore. And it's like, no, we're not going to do that. We just want everyone to feel safe and happy and respected, and that's like it. Like all people, that's all I want is just for like equality, right? Like that's what we're aiming for. So, don't feel scared, you know, just don't, I get how it is, how it's easy to feel scared, but I just encourage people to not worry too much about, you know, this is not an agenda, it's not a takeover, we're just people that want to live and be respected. Yeah, so.
Do you have, I guess, any final words for people who are closeted or trans people, just like as a optimistic thing? Like, hey, you're okay.
I was just waiting for the other group of filmers to pass by.
Oh, they got better cameras than I do. I mean, they've obviously borrowed it from uni.
Call back.
That's for sure.
It wasn't better. I didn't say it was better. It's just a big camera. That's all. It's big.
The bloody studio camera.
Yeah.
Been in class with some of those people as well.
Oh, cool. So, fun. Do you want to re-ask your question, or do you want to edit it?
Yeah, sure.
I don't.
Yeah, so do you have any words of wisdom, more or less, for people who are either closeted still or just trans in general, LGBT or whatever?
Yeah. I would say prioritize your safety first. If you're a young person and you live at home and you know that your family is not going to accept you, that's the worst, and that really sucks, but I would not push that boat if you can't live. You need to prioritize living, right? If you can live without a supportive family and you can find a good community, that's cool, and that's your choice, and that's a cool thing to be able to do. I'd feel like that's very admirable. I guess my advice is, prioritize safety and compromise a lot. When you are introducing yourself and new aspects of yourself when you're transitioning, I don't know if this applies to being gay, but when you're transitioning, you need... There's so many noises going on. When you're transitioning, you need to ease people into things. You need to give them the space to make mistakes and be uncomfortable. And that's really hard, and it sucks to have a family member say the wrong name and for you to correct them and then go, oh, well, I'm trying really hard, and get angry. And it's like that's gonna happen. That's what this actually is. People are gonna make mistakes, and they're gonna feel called out if you correct them. I would still encourage correcting them. Just do it in a positive way, not a negative way.
Yeah.
My go-to correcting people, I don't have to do this that much anymore because people don't make as many mistakes because I've been out for a long time. But for the first, 6 months or so, I would say to my friends or family when they would call me my old name or say he, him pronouns, I'd just go, who? Who? And if they didn't get it, I'd be like, who are you talking about? And they'd be like, oh shit, my bad. And that's it. Like, I didn't have to break the conversation and go, actually, you just did the wrong thing. You fucked up.
Yeah.
I just sort of playfully...
Number 3, you're right.
Yeah, I just playfully was like, what? What was that?
Yeah.
And so, most advice is be safe, compromise, bring people along on the journey with you. And if you get to the point where you need to give people the benefit of the doubt and they're going to be uncomfortable and they're going to have issues with it, that's fine. But if they are not moving enough that it's affecting your mental state or it's affecting your transition, and you can afford to get rid of them in a personal, financial, whatever way, you can give up on people as well. There are people in the world that are not ready and may never be ready to deal with this, and sometimes that is people in your life. Hopefully that doesn't have to happen. But, yeah.
Cool. Wow. I feel like I should have put on sunscreen before I did this interview. This has been fun, very informative.
Yeah.
So thank you, Jodie, for being in the show.
That's all right.
Talking very openly about
Yeah.
all of this magical stuff.
Hey, that's cool.
Without making the word magical sound
all of this make-believe stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, wow.
Thanks for telling me about unicorns and trans people.
I could write a fantasy epic about this.
I get it.
Yeah, so to the audience, of course, I hope you've enjoyed and maybe been informed as well, and taken these words, whether they're hard or have more to scrutinise now, whether it be in the comments or my personal email.
Have a debate about it in the comments. Let's get in the comments and let's see how much of what I said is true. I want to know. Give me a percentage factor.
How much did I get right?
Yeah.
Did I ace the test?
This is all just my opinion. You know,
Yeah.
I don't speak for everyone.
Yeah, there is potential that I might interview other trans or even LGBT people, as I've interviewed one LGBT person before, and I plan to interview more in the future, just because it's an interesting concept for me, and I like getting more anecdotal evidence and reading from a Wikipedia page.
It's really good. It's good to meet people and learn what their life is like and stuff. And I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right. Well, thanks for watching.
Thanks. Bye.
Cool.
Sweet.
All right.
Hey, do you want to edit? Can you movie magic my acne out of this?
Oh yeah, I started using After Effects. I'm really good at it.
Sweet.
Thanks for watching another episode of That Interview Show. If you liked it, feel free to like, share, and subscribe for more. We've got a playlist for That Interview Show. That'll be down below or at the end of this thingy here, at the end of the credits. If you want to suggest any topics or discuss anything that we discussed here today, like elaborate on it further, then feel free to add some of the comments down below. I will be watching without that sounding weird. See you next time.